You're listening to The Secrets of Doctor Who, where we discuss everything about the hit BBC series, Doctor Who. Today we're discussing the 8th Doctor Big Finish story, Relative Dimensions. I'm Dom Bettinelli, and joining me today is Jimmy Akin. Hey, Jimmy.
Howdy, Dom.
Folks, be sure to help us out by going to Apple Podcasts and writing a review. Share the podcast with your friends. Help us grow this community and reach even more listeners. Stick around to the end of the episode. We're going to have more of your great listener feedback on one of our recent episodes. And now, Jimmy, can you give us a recap of what happens in Relative Dimensions?
This week, the 8th Doctor and companion Lucie Miller go to the 22nd century to celebrate Christmas with the Doctor's granddaughter Susan and his great-grandson Alex. They have a lavish Christmas dinner prepared, but it's interrupted by a giant electric fish known as a blitzenfish. They put the fish in stasis to deal with later, but it keeps breaking out. Turns out that the first Doctor bought a small blitzenfish for Susan on a planet they visited, and they thought it was dead, but it was really just dormant, and it's been in Susan's old room on the TARDIS all this time and has grown to be 8 feet long. The blitzenfish is also capable of jumping around in time and space, and the Doctor and Susan accidentally free it. Alex, who's an architecture student, figures out how to use the TARDIS's internal geometry to set a trap for the fish, and the Doctor uses himself as bait, causing him to have a wild ride on the fish through time. Alex isn't telepathic, so the Doctor has a telepathic conversation with Susan to tell Alex how to retrap the fish, and with help from Lucie, they manage to get it back to its own home in space. Afterwards, they have Christmas dinner, and the Doctor plans to invite Alex to travel with him. He also plans to eventually give the TARDIS to Alex as his inheritance, and Susan agrees to all this. But then Alex announces that he and Lucie will be taking a tour of Europe together to study its architecture. So the Doctor puts his own plans on hold for now, and we have a nice Christmassy ending in which the Doctor breaks the fourth wall to wish anyone listening a happy Christmas. The end.
So what'd you think of this one, Jimmy?
I liked it. It's nice and straightforward. It's uncomplicated. Sometimes with these audio plays, it can get, especially with the BBC, I mean, I know this is Big Finish, not BBC, but with British audio standards, it can be hard to follow at times, and this was pretty straightforward. So I liked having a nice, uncomplicated story to follow.
Right. And our second 8th Doctor story that features Susan's return and the Doctor's grandson, or great-grandson.
Yeah.
Alex.
In terms of Christmas episodes, I don't like it as much as The Chimes of Midnight, where the 8th Doctor and Charlie were together for Christmas in a really weird setting. Yeah. That one is a vastly more complicated story, but that one, I think they pulled it off.
Yeah.
This was just a nice kind of low-key break.
Right. And his companion in this one is Lucie Miller.
Yeah. I don't know that you've encountered her yet. She's from the early 2000s. And she's like she's not a computer programmer, but she works in the tech industry. And she is not like a lot of companions. She's not wowed by the Doctor. Mm-hmm. She is perfectly capable of giving the Doctor a piece of her mind. Okay. And she has a really dry wit. She uses insults for various people she meets. But she bonds with Alex. And she also, I mean, she's a compassionate person. She just has kind of a sharp tongue. And she has her finale, even now after this, she goes on to make loads more audio plays with the Doctor. This is kind of in the middle of her run in terms of appearances, but she has a dramatic exit. She also has been a companion of the meddling monk sometimes. But she's going to go out defeating the Daleks. And she's going to like pilot on a suicide mission to destroy this major Dalek plan. And as she goes out, she's like, remember the name of the person who defeated you. I'm Lucie Bleepin' Miller.
I think, in fact, that's our next scheduled Eighth Doctor story that we're going to do. Okay, so even though she leaves the TARDIS to go on this European adventure with Alex, it's not her end. She's going to come back.
Yeah.
Okay, that was one of my questions.
And that's why I mentioned this is kind of in the middle of her run. And because they don't have to tell these stories in chronological order.
Of course. In fact, in the non-chronological order aspect, the story starts with the Doctor and Lucy doing their Christmas shopping after Christmas to get the sales.
Indeed. The Doctor asked her, where should we go to get good Christmas deals? And she said, the January sales.
That is true. The Orthodox folks really take advantage of that because their Christmas is after ours. The Latins. So it's Christmas in the TARDIS, and so it's kind of and this story is from it came out in 2010. So it's during the run of the New Who. So we've had a couple of Christmas episodes because Christmas episodes weren't a regular feature of Classic Who, as we know. There was basically one Christmas episode, Feast of Stephen.
And that was only because Christmas was the regular broadcast day.
Yes. But when New Who came, then they started doing Christmas episodes on the regular, and so this would have been around, as part of that tradition that had begun. And so Susan and Alex are coming for Christmas. Susan, of course, being played by Caroline Ford, returning, and as we'd mentioned before, Alex is played by Paul McGann's son, Jake. Yeah, which is kind of fun. That's a nice All in the Family thing there.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to meet the Doctor at a bus stop, and he's late. Is that what it is?
Yeah, which just amounts to he set the controls a little wrong.
Right.
And Susan is impressed because the Eighth Doctor finally is in control of where the TARDIS goes.
Right. And she's a little surprised it's the same face, right? Like he hasn't regenerated in between. Yeah. That was the other bit. And he apparently had promised that it would be to Lucy and to Susan that it would be a normal, regular Christmas. Nothing weird, nothing strange. But of course, that's the Doctor, so something weird always has to happen. So we have this alien fish flying around. The whole bit about Alex not being telepathic or regenerative, like not having the regeneration, not having enough of the Gallifreyan genes for those to be part of his makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Although I felt like there was a hint at the end that maybe he was telepathic.
No, I didn't get that.
Okay.
The Doctor has to have the telepathic conversation with Susan because Alex can't hear him.
Okay. I thought that I saw something, I'd heard something near the end that kind of implied that maybe that it was there but latent.
Well, what you might be thinking of is the Doctor does a surreptitious genetic scan on Alex and determines that he's only got 7% of Gallifreyan genes in him, right. Which is actually not. And the Doctor says that can't possibly be right.
Right.
But
50.
Well, no. So if the Doctor were full Time Lord, then 50% of the DNA of the Doctor's child, male or female, would be the same as his. And although it would all be Gallifreyan.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
And then Susan would inherit 25% of the Doctor's DNA, but it would be full Gallifreyan, assuming the Doctor's child married another Gallifreyan.
Right.
And then 12.5% of Alex would be Gallifreyan if Susan's parent had not married a Gallifreyan, or 25% if Susan's parent had married a Gallifreyan, because Susan marries a human.
Right.
And so we're not that far off, but there's a complicating factor, which is in the TV movie, the Doctor claims he's half human on his mother's side. So if that's the case, then the Doctor is 50% Time Lord. at least in this incarnation.
Yeah.
And his child will be 25% Time Lord. Susan will be 12.5% Time Lord. And Alex would only be 6-point-something% Time Lord.
Okay. Assuming
all human marriages, which may not be the case in one generation, that of the Doctor's child.
Right.
In which case Alex would go back up to 12.5%. But we're in the ballpark here, but they do leave that as a dangling thing in this episode of why are Alex's Time Lord genes so low?
Right. Well, actually, the Doctor would also have to have married a human, I guess, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or could have, and that would also account for the low. Okay.
Anyway, we're in the ballpark.
Yeah. It is actually in the ballpark. You're right. The other interesting thing about this story is that it's revealed that there's apparently a special ring inside the TARDIS that contains a holding ring that contains stored rooms. And
by ring, I assume that means a ring of rooms.
I just kind of imagine in my mind it was like a rotating ring, and among other things, but it stores the rooms of all the Doctor's previous companions, from Ian and Barbara all the way down to Vicky.
Tamsin is actually, she's sort of Lucie Miller's replacement.
Okay, so Tamsin's after Lucie.
Sort of.
So okay, we'll get there. And the premise in the story is kind of like he's been holding on to these companions
rooms. Yeah.
Well, in a sense, but also emotionally holding on to them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what causes the problem, is because he held on to Susan's room and sort of not letting her go, quote unquote. This alien fish that was in that room could come back and cause havoc.
Yeah. And there is a moment at the end where the Doctor instructs the TARDIS to delete all of these rooms except one, and they leave it conveniently unspecified which one he's keeping.
Of course.
But I think that's nonsense. Just because there was a blitzenfish in one of the rooms, okay, you got rid of the blitzenfish, you have no reason to suspect anything else is wrong, and you may want to travel with one of those people in the future.
Yeah. I think
I also assume the TARDIS never really gets rid of anything. It just goes into the recycle bin.
Right. Yeah, I think what they were trying to get at in the story was, that the Doctor needs to let them go, like to let all these old companions go and not hold on to them emotionally for reasons. I'm not sure why.
They were trying to make a larger psychological point in the story, but I think it's unnecessary.
Yeah. Why can't the Doctor hold on to these, it's not like he's he has to Marie Kondo them and, do they spark joy? Just a lot of them. The TARDIS isn't going to run out of room. There's also a story point about how the Doctor wants Susan to admit that she misses the travel. Mm-hmm. Although she keeps pointing out, you
dumped me.
It wasn't my choice to stop. So he never really kind of acknowledges that. I think, at least I don't remember him doing so.
I think that part of the reason he may be doing that, I mean, he could be doing that to invite her back on the TARDIS, but I think actually what he's doing is trying to get her to remember how much fun it was, so she'll let Alex go.
Right. And she doesn't quite trust him to, she made him promise not to, if they're going to come aboard the TARDIS for Christmas, it needs to stay there. He's not going to take off anywhere else. I think partly because she's still operating off of the first Doctor's inability to bring them back. Mm-hmm. And she thinks he broke his promise when it takes off. Because of the
right. It's really the blitzenfish causing the problem.
Right. And so the Doctor is kind of laying the groundwork for bringing Alex along as his future companion, future heir. Mm-hmm. Although it's kind of weird, is the Doctor kind of thinking he's going to die soon? It's kind of,
Well, he doesn't know. In this, he is, he says when they're doing the high risk move to get the fish back where it belongs, he says, if anything happens to me, I want Alex to have the TARDIS.
Right.
So he's prepared to die here. And under the 12 regeneration rule, that he was psychologically operating under at this time, he would expect to run out at the end of being Matt Smith. Now, he doesn't know about what form his future incarnations are going to take, but he's already 8 out of 13.
Right.
And so, he's in middle age, Time Lord wise, and he could think, okay, eventually I will have my final regeneration, and after that, I'm going to, assuming I don't get killed first, and I want Alex to have the TARDIS once I'm gone.
Right. And he also, so when it comes time to kind of invite Alex, he's like all ready, and then that's when Alex, I've got something I want to tell you, and Alex, and it's the classic trope of, but I got something to tell you. All right, you go first, and that's when Alex breaks the news that he and Lucie are gonna go travel Europe. Are they traveling Europe in the 22nd
century? Yeah, the story is set in 2187.
Okay, is that when Lucie's from?
No, Lucie is from like 2006.
Okay, so all right, so from our time. Okay. The doctor also tells a story about Leonardo da Vinci, who wanted to
got the
Bethlehem.
doctor to take him to the first Christmas in Bethlehem, and they eliminated which inn it was, even though it really wasn't an inn.
Yes.
But and it had a stable attached, and then Leonardo chickens out on actually seeing the Christ child.
That was weird. Like, why wouldn't he? Like, of course he would want to see. He wanted a reference for his painting of the Nativity. He said, I thought that was funny. So this is the second time the doctor has been at Bethlehem now, because the 15th doctor has been to Bethlehem.
Oh, I'm sure the doctor has been to Bethlehem multiple times.
He's running around that place all over the place. Just don't run into yourself.
It's like Back to the Future Part 2.
Although I thought it was interesting, he talked about having a hard time nailing down the exact date of Christmas, of the first Christmas.
He just says it wasn't December 25th, but he was able to figure it out using Roman census records.
Right, but yeah, you were able to figure it out on an episode of Mysterious World, right? Didn't we talk about that?
I don't think the date. I don't think the date of the original Christmas is knowable.
Yeah, but
there are some interesting candidates, but I don't think the data allows us to be certain about any of them.
Yeah, that was was that our first year that we talked about that? I think it is.
Yeah, I think you can narrow down the year. I think it's 3/2 BC. That we have good evidence for, but the specific day of the year is we have much less data about that.
Okay.
Although interestingly, September 11th is a strong candidate.
Oh, that's interesting. If folks want to hear more about that, they can go to mysterious.fm/19. Because that was, again, early on, and they can hear our discussion of that on Mysterious World. So, so the problem here was this pan-dimensional fish, or whatever it was destabilizing the TARDIS's dimensional integrity, right? I mean, that's the basic premise, and so that they had to kind of stabilize it.
Yeah, by the way, the original title for this, before they called it Relative Dimensions, it was The Fish That Stole Christmas.
Okay.
And I also can't, since this fish flies around through the air and it's large, I also can't help but think of the A Christmas Carol, Matt Smith Christmas special, because we have giant flying sharks in that.
right.
For Christmas.
Right. That was after this, so maybe inspired by. And there's like a colony of bats on board the TARDIS.
Flater shrews, yeah.
Flater shrews. I presume they showed up in a previous Eighth Doctor story.
They've been around several times, and here the colony of the flater shrews actually dies because the fish incinerates them.
At one point, the Doctor talks about how his emotions are all over the place. Is that supposed to be being caused by the fish, or just by Christmas?
I think they kind of drop that, and they do it in a way that I think it's a writing flaw, because Jake, I keep saying Jake, that's the actor's name.
Yeah.
Alex explains to the doctor it's Christmas, so of course it's the stress of Christmas. You know, people, their emotions go crazy at Christmas because of all the stress they put on themselves, dealing with family and holiday celebrations and things like that. And the doctor is like, oh, of course, this explains it. But he said it in such a way that I was expecting him to have some further realization that they would talk about later, and they never did.
Yeah.
So I guess the explanation is the doctor concludes that his emotions are jumping around because of all the Christmas stress, coupled with the blitzenfish.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So
he did really early on. He really hammered, I want this to be a perfect Christmas, and then we have the blitzenfish.
Right. Any other notes on this one, Jimmy?
No, I think I do like the timey-wiminess of it, because the blitzenfish ensures that the doctor and Susan go to her room to let it out, because it's hopping around in time. And Alex and Lucy realize what the fish is right before it's it's already been unleashed, but before the doctor and Susan open her old room, the doctor has given her old room as a Christmas present. And Alex and Lucy try to stop them from opening the room, but the fish jumps back in time to ensure its own release from the room. So we've got some timey-wiminess there, and it's not too much of it, but it's nice to have a little bit, and where time travel is being used as something other than just how do we travel from one location to another to have a story. Right.
Yeah, that was pretty good. All right, so that is I was going to say Final Destination, Relative Dimensions. I don't know where that came from. We do have feedback, I mentioned, and this was on our recent discussion of the Sixth Doctor Big Finish story, Catch 1782. This one comes from Sir Cadsalot on YouTube, who writes, is there a parapsychological hypothesis for a mechanism behind hauntings? Is there a recording that information must be encoded in some medium, even if it needs to be interpreted by a human consciousness to be experienced? Is it like holography, where you can have information encoded as an interference pattern and a photochemical emulsion, which can later be interpreted and identified by a human? That is, do parapsychologists suppose humans can interpret some kind of imprint in the environment to that level of fidelity, or is there a yet unknown medium where this information would be encoded?
Okay, so I should explain the terms here for those who are not familiar with them. In parapsychology, the common interpretation these days of what haunting is it's not a spirit, it's a place memory or a recording of some kind of an event that or series of events that happened in the past when someone was alive. It's like, watching a movie of Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. They were alive when they made the recording. And in the same way, a haunting which is non-interactive. It's a non-interactive, repetitive phenomenon. It's proposed that it's a recording of something that a living person or group of living people laid down when they were alive. When a spirit shows up, a dead person, a ghost, that's called an apparition. That's a separate phenomenon. Now, there is a thought that has been devoted to what could the recording medium be, and that's largely an unknown. There is some indication it may incorporate electromagnetic elements, because there is some evidence that you can disrupt a haunting electromagnetically. But this is just a proposal. It's not a well-established, tested theory. It's also believed that human consciousness is necessary to process this recording, whatever it is, which is why you don't see, hauntings showing up on closed-circuit TV cameras and stuff, like on your Ring camera and things like that, because there's no consciousness there to process the recording. So it seems to be an interaction between human consciousness and something in the environment. But what that is wide open. And there are different authors who are exploring different aspects of it, and what environmental elements might be involved, but there is no certainty. The date, we don't have enough data yet to solve this problem. We're still at the stage of science of largely describing the phenomenon and then trying to figure out what are its associations, but we're not at the point of knowing here's technically how it works.
Okay. All right. And thank you, Sir Cadsalot, for that interesting question. Now we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Doctor Who, including Father Jason S., Lizzie G., Father Leo H., Elizabeth T., and Kerry B. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Doctor Who and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So that's it from us this time. What did you think of Relative Dimensions? You can let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com or the Secrets of Doctor Who Facebook page. Send us an email to drwho@sqpn.com or visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/discord. You can also watch the Secrets of Doctor Who on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia, where you should like, follow, subscribe, leave a comment, hit the bell, do all the things. We'll be back next time when we'll be discussing the Fourth Doctor TV story, State of Decay. Until then, Jimmy Akin, thank you for joining me and sharing the Secrets of Doctor Who.
And the Fourth Doctor will be telling us all about why you need to go see your dentist regularly so you don't get into a state of decay.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Doctor Who on StarQuest. And remember, sometimes the future is unavoidable.